Regulatory Commission. So just tell us what type of utilities fall under that umbrella. Off the bat, we know you've been doing some work in the energy sector, so we know electricity falls under your purview. We're guessing water, but I'm wondering, telecoms as well?
No, telecoms is overseen by the NTRC, and there is also, I think, a separate board that does transportation. So for the time being, it's going to be water and electricity.
So those two. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And of the two, we've seen the greater emphasis thus far on energy, and you've been doing a lot of consultations across the island for quite a bit. You started last year, you were interrupted with COVID, but we saw you recommence this year. The process has ended. What stage you're at now?
Well, part of the reason for the consultations was the mandate to interact, to get feedback from the people who actually use electricity and use the services. So we wanted to know what their feel was, what their thoughts were, but at the same time, we wanted the whole process to be transparent. So when it comes to what we do, and part of what we do is defining policy, we would have gotten feedback from those people in the consultations, and it was taken on board. So it does help. It's part of that loop with defining energy policy, and as you mentioned, with other aspects or other entities that would fall under the PRC. So the same process would be followed when we start doing water resource management, but it's getting feedback and also letting people know what we're doing. That was the main motive for having those consultations and working groups.
Okay. Based on the public consultations that were done, what was probably the most overwhelming response from the public?
Well, there is an interest in the public to have information to be kept in the loop. So, for instance, we started speaking about renewables, and the general feedback from the public is that, yes, we're interested, but we want to know more.
Right.
And so there are a lot of different aspects because, for instance, you speak about generation expansion, which might be the defining factor behind changing from fuel to renewables, which would garner that kind of interest. But then you have topics like the grid code, which would speak a bit more to the utility and also to people doing distributed generation. And please forgive the technical terms. If there is need for clarification, please let me know. So different parts of the consultations would have spoken to different people based on how they fit into the whole picture and what part of it impacted them more.
Okay.
So, yeah.
You know, I just thought it would have been cost. Cost.
Well, the cost of electricity, yes, that is a big, everybody wants to know about it. But surprisingly, since the whole mandate regarding self-generators, IPPs, it's something relatively new. There was also a lot of curiosity, even before people got to cost. There was a lot of curiosity as to how, why, etc. Mm-hmm. So they want to know what our procedure is to get where we want to get to. But yes, you're right. Cost is also of interest.
Okay. I'm not going to play bright. I need to know what IPPs are.
Independent power producers.
Okay. Yes. Independent. Don't laugh, Crystal. You didn't know either.
He did say to ask for clarification, but I'm not going to play bright. We're not bright.
We learning. We learning today.
But he spoke about the certification and permits and whatnot, which is basically why you are here, because GDB has been speaking about renewable energy and energy efficiency for a while, which is right up your alley, Davril. So basically, we want to understand. We've been telling people about the panels and the solar water heaters and whatnot, but here comes in PERC with new information, new policies. How does those policies that were implemented affect, whether negatively or positively, what GDB is doing and what homeowners and even commercial people can expect? How does it?
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure. There's really no negative impact per se. I mean, switching from fossil fuel to renewables, the overarching concept, climate change, energy independence. I mean, it's all positive, right? Now, part of that initiative, and based on the direction that the country wants to head, then there is no policy in place which would allow people to produce their own energy. And also the whole concept of generation from a monopoly to distributed generation, which is essentially energy being generated at various points on the island, not just from one single source. So it's like everything just comes together to fit in, and it's something, well, different players, different parts coming together to point in one particular direction. So we would have started the self-generator program and the small-scale IPP program as part of that initiative. So what are the benefits? Well, you as a self-generator, for instance, you have the opportunity to be able to produce your own electricity on site. And in the event that there is any excess, then you have an opportunity to sell to the grid. And with the small-scale IPP, investors have an opportunity then to be able to generate energy, which is the, well, as we would have spoken yesterday, the typical solar farm, and be able to supply GRENLEC, the network licensee, with energy. And just let me clarify here that when you speak about renewables, although there is that conception, that concept in Grenada, that way of thinking that renewables is just solar, at least is the first thing that jumps to one's mind, and rightly so, in the sense that Grenada is a sun-kissed land of smiles. I mean, we know the sun, and we are located, thankfully, in a position, latitude and longitude wise, where we have a lot of sunlight. But renewables is not just limited to sun, to solar. It could also be wind, it could be geothermal, it could be biomass. There's quite a lot of options. So someone as a self-generator or an IPP can analyze all those different options as a source of generating electricity. It's all about moving away from fossil fuels.
True. Agreed. All right. So I'm going to be like Jan and not try to play bright. What is a self-generator? Who do we call self-generators?
So a self-generator is someone who is defined as a personal entity who generates electricity for their own use. And in the event of that they produce excess, will then sell to the grid.
So that can be me at home.
It can be you at home. It can be you at your business place. Yes.
Okay. And can that be my friend Wilbur with his solar farm in probably Egmont or Las Vegas?
That would be an IPP, because he is then producing with the sole intent to sell. So he's going to be supplying renewable energy to GRENLEC for distribution. But you as a self-generator, you'll be generating principally for yourself, and then only selling if you have excess.
Oh, okay. And let us put Jan, do you have a question?
I was just wondering, do you have to have a license to become independent or self?
My question.
Yeah, producer, do I need a license, and who do I need a license from if yes?
So license and permits, you need to come to the PRC. You need a permit for a self-generator, and you need a license as an IPP. The duration of the license for the IPP would be 25 years, and the duration of the permit as a self-generator, 15 years. In the first instance. So it's not like you get a license and then after the time expires, then it's done. It's in the first instance.
Okay.
So before you go on, Crystal, I'm curious about the cost of those licenses and permits.
Okay. Well, so the self-generator, the permit is $150 EC. So you come in, you do the forms, you send in the attachments that are required. There's a checklist with the form that you send in all the documentation, and then you pay the registration, $150 EC, and then if it is approved, then it's sent off for the permit. The licensing is a bit more, shall I say, complex. It would, to some extent, be based on the size of the system that you're doing. And let me mention that the two programs we have right now are two pilots. So, for instance, with the small-scale IPP, and we call them small-scale IPP, is because we have designated, and this is where the language gets a bit technical, an accumulated capacity of 2 megawatts that can be divided up for different investors, different local investors to participate in those smaller projects. So you would have maybe a guy doing 100 kilowatts, another one doing 150, up to a maximum for individual or entity of 200. And then that is aggregated until you get to 2 megawatts. So the cost of the license then would be prorated based on the size of your system.
Okay, got you. Crystal.
Okay, so Grenada Development Bank is a law-abiding institution, and the law says that should you be interested in starting a solar farm or being a self-generator, you must have your license or your permit. Yes, maybe. So I am somebody right now who's interested in one of these things, whether being a self-generator or IPP. I got that right, an IPP, yes. Right?
Well, I explained it to you yesterday, so you.
I'm still
Thank you for telling us that she had added an added advantage over us this morning. Carry on.
Yeah, she was cheating. She was cheating.
She's cheating. I know.
But I'm still learning, Jan. You know how much conversations you and I had to have before you know all our products and services and all the terms. Plenty.
And we're still learning.
Exactly. So back to my question. If I am interested or somebody is interested in applying to us for financing for a project like that, what happens? Do they first approach you so that they can receive their permits or their licenses, as the case may be? Because, of course, we do not want to give a loan without that person having met the necessary terms and conditions, where one in this case would be a license or a permit.
Yes, that's actually recommended because of what you mentioned. So as a means of having, due diligence being done, I believe industry best practices would dictate that person goes through the process to ensure that they meet the requirements before they come to you. So maybe one of your requirements would be that person has a permit or a license before you go into those detailed binding agreements with them. Yes, that would be recommended.
All right, lovely, because we do want people to get into the the habits of renewables. And yes, I know you mentioned the wind and the biomass and all that. Actually, there's a gentleman who uses biogas. I don't know if you know of him. He makes breads and whatnot. He's in a St. Andrew community. The name isn't coming to me right now, but he does that. He creates it all on his own, by the way. Very creative.
No, I don't know.
Very, very creative. John, I don't know if you know, he sells the breads, different breads, cassava breads and whatnot, and he does plantain chips and fig chips and yam chips and all those other things, and it's all renewables. Very, very, very interesting.
It is. You know, I don't know about that particular case, but in the event that I did know, I might not even be able to tell you that I do. So one of the things that we have, and it's just a nice segue here, because one of the things that we have been stressing on very stringently in the office, and we have gotten feedback from a lot of interested parties. They want to know when they give us the information, how confidential it is, and we do deal with sensitive information. And it's just, since I'm here on the air, just to put it out there as a bit of reassurance to those people who would have asked on multiple occasions. Yeah, once the information comes in here, it's only seen by who needs to see it regarding the technical part of it or the financial part of it. That is dealt with utmost confidentiality.
That's understandable, kind of like the banking sector. But that particular gentleman, actually, he's been all over Facebook and whatnot. And I was laughing while he was speaking because one of my coworkers came to the door with a paper and stick it up to my door with the gentleman's name written on it. Because I can't remember his name.
There are individuals in the country who are very, very interested in going renewable. So we would have phone calls for all different kinds of issues during the day. And some of them are actually congratulatory in the sense that they realize that we're moving in a direction that they've been maybe for years before, or maybe some people who are living overseas are coming back in, and they've heard about those programs, and they're very happy. I mean, you just try to imagine what it is when you pick up the phone one day and there's some guy in an English accent saying that, oh, you guys do net metering. Well, fine. Cheers, mate. It's just really, really nice to know that some people who don't understand the concept, they're ready to jump at it because they understand that it's the direction that the world is heading in. And sooner or later, Grenada will have to get on board. So better sooner than later, really.
Right. Do you think, and I'm thinking of the gentleman Chriselle mentioned that you're not aware of. So people are supposed to get a license or a permit from you before they start their renewable energy projects. Yes.
They're supposed to get a license or permit. Yeah. For the self-generators, for the IPPs, it's a yes. I mean, you definitely do have to get a license and you have to be vetted and everything like that. With the self-generators, you do have to get your permit, but then you have this category called the non-interconnected self-generator, which is effectively somebody who has gone off-grid. So in that case that you're describing, it's most likely someone who does not at any point during his process use any electricity from Grenelec. But it is required that these people come in to register. So you don't have to get a permit, but you do need to register because there is a need to know all the generation capacity on the island at any given time. And even with those people who would have previously been connected. So Grenelec had a version of the self-generator program, which they ran from 2006 up to, I would believe, sometime last year. Those people, they still do have to register because they would need to have a permit. GreenLake would have given out 10-year contracts to those people, and they would now need to change over to a permit. So it's basically for them moving from one system to the next.
Right.
And then you have those new ones coming on. But there is a need for either just a registration if you're not interconnected, or a permit if you're going to be connected to the grid. Yes.
Okay.
I know we're quickly running out of time, but I have two questions. I'm going to make them into, 1A and B. So one of the things we would hear as a deterrent for getting into energy or green energy is the upfront cost. The initial cost is a problem, or it is expensive. So I would like you to shed some light on that for us, Davril, the initial cost versus the payback. So question part A is the initial cost, B, payback.
A and B, you still get two answers, you know that. So one of the characteristics of renewables is that there is an upfront investment, and there's no running away from that. But renewables, so there are international standards which state that renewables or a renewable project of whatever size has a lifetime of 25 years. And 25 years, after 25 years, it doesn't mean that project just stops generating. It's just a guideline to state that within that time, you would have produced a certain amount of energy. You would have gotten enough income generated from that project to cover investment and a reasonable rate of return, or reasonable return on investment. Payback times, there are many factors that can influence payback time. Remember that renewable energy is intermittent. I mean, I don't remember having seen a year as wet as this one before in Grenada. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but did we actually have a dry season? I'm not sure. So all these little things can impact energy production, but it's understood that a project that's properly procured should give you payback 10 to 12 years. And even for the self-generators, 7 years, it's not unheard of for a system to be paid back in 3 years. The benefits, or you could say the advantages, far outweigh the obstacles, if you want to call it that people might find to justify not moving to renewables. It just ticks all the boxes, really.
What a nice, those are final words, John. I don't think we need to say anything else.
No, and I think that's the point you've been trying to drive home for the longest while. for the last like 8 or so weeks, yes. So, but today we learned a new step in the process, because I honestly was not aware before today that we needed to have a permit before we make those transitions. So we come into you for the funding, for the loans, for the renewable energy, but we also have to go to the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission first to get those permits before we come to you.
Do remember, it is for the panels and the solar farms and whatnot. You can still have your renewable energy loan to use for your LED lights and your
right.
The energy saving appliances and whatnot. Right. Yes, that has nothing. It has no bearing whatsoever on the regulations from PERC.
No.
Or let's say the regulation has no bearing on that.
Right. That is if we want to get the energy source. Yeah.
You can still do your water efficient I don't know, efficient solutions like your what do you call it? The motion sensor.
Right.
It's all intertwined because
and whatnot.
you do get to save, and the question about money comes back to savings, right? So if you invest in a system, obviously you want to get the maximum out of it. So policy does drive behavior in that sense, where once you would have invested and you want to get your money's worth, you would find people moving towards those efficient systems, whether it's lighting, whether it's equipment, appliances. You would have that shift. It's something that would just happen over time, but it's an evolutive process. So it does happen. And just to mention, you're saying to the nation, contact the PRC, but we haven't even given the address or the numbers. Does anybody actually, well, I mean, not everybody, but do people even know where our offices are? You have to ask that question.
Well, Davro, tell us.
Well, so you can call us at 437-1602. It's actually recommended a phone call up front because we'd say come in, but with the regulations and everything now, based on the pandemic, it's always better a phone call up front. But even for people who are planning to get into those programs but don't believe that they have that technical capacity, it's quite fine to call and have a chat, because we enjoy speaking to people, and there's no such thing as a silly question if you're speaking about your wanting to move towards renewables, wanting to be more efficient. I mean, any question, any doubt you have, you can call 437-1602 and ask, or you can send an email at sgapplication@prc.gd. And we do enjoy interacting with people, because there's also no downside to it. I mean, you call up front, you get the information, you make a well-informed decision. It's always better than having to correct things done afterwards based on misinformation. So you call, you send an email, we will have a chat with you. In the event that you need to come in, we will arrange a date, and we will take the time to make sure that all your doubts have been clarified, and then you can make an informed decision.
Okay, thank you so much. Guys, we really do have to wrap it up. It is 29 and a half minutes on to 11. We have Honorary Consul Theodore Blais waiting in the wings. So I want to thank you both for coming on this morning. And I have a feeling the PERC needs to book some time to come and talk to the nation pretty soon. Because I just have a feeling people have been doing their own little things on the side and not getting the requisite license and permits for them. Chriselle, always...
Take you up on that, right?
Yeah,
I will.
Always a pleasure having you. Always very informative. We look forward to our engagement again next week. We take a quick break, folks. You're looking at the Mid-Morning Buzz. We'll be back in a short while.
People at the center of Caribbean societies, with built-in resilience for water, food, and internet, opportunities to own, invest, and be masters of our fate, innovations to tackle inequality and poverty, improve public services, better lifestyles, and fewer of us suffering from non-communicable diseases. Join the conversation on putting people at the center of development in the Caribbean with Professor Avinash Prasad, Chairman of the CARICOM Commission on the Economy, fellow Commissioner Dr. Damien King, and Dr. Jani Remy, Deputy Director of the Shudaf Ramphal Center for International Trade Law, Policy and Services.
Caribbean Economic Forum, this Sunday at 5 p.m. on GBN television channels 7 and 11. GBN, keeping you informed with global issues, anywhere and everywhere.
Hello, Grenada. This is Albert Dubai Richards from Radio Antilles. Join me this Friday from 8 p.m. along with Jeff Aird and the We Culture team as we go back to the days of great radio programming. Grenada, don't miss it, all right?
there's no better way to start your day than with me on Good Morning Grenada. Good Morning Grenada is your one-stop shop. We have information, education, entertainment, your bi-weekly traffic cam, and we link up with the sister isles of Carriacou and PT Martinique. Join me every 6:35 on weekdays for Good Morning Grenada. It's your daily dose of all things Grenadian, mixed with just a little bit of crazy.
Good morning, good morning.
I said just a little bit of crazy.
I tell all of the things that take me.
Good Morning Grenada, 6:35 a.m. on weekdays, available on all GBN platforms. Start your morning off right.
Montreal, it's time to line virtually one more time. Gemma Rayburn Baines here for Spice Island Cultural Festival, a celebration of Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique. This summer's festival is a celebration of life with food, fashion, music, and culture. Join us online Saturday, July 10th, 3 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube at Spice Island Cultural Festival. Info, spiceislandculturalday.com.
Folks, our next guest is a very, very special gentleman. Let me just give you a brief introduction to him before we bring him on screen. Mr. Theodore H. Blaise. He was the first president of the Spice Island Cultural Day Association of Quebec, which was formed in 2017. Mr. Blaise, who is also the honorary consul for Grenada in Montreal, now sits on the board of directors as the past president and chief consultant to the group. Theodore migrated to Canada in 1976 after a few years' stay in New York. As an engineer by profession, he is presently vice president of operations at Kenmont Terminals Incorporated in Quebec and a commissioner of oaths of Quebec. He'll have to tell us what that is. Theodore has always been an active member of the Grenadian community in Montreal, fundraising and donating funds to assist Grenadians back home. So this is what you call a good Grenadian, always looking out for the folks back home, and it's an absolute honor to have him on the program this morning. Good morning and welcome to The Buzz.
Good morning, and thank you so very much for inviting me and to that fantastic and beautiful intro. I have a swollen head now.
And the thing is, it's all true.
Everything I've done and everything I do is for the benefit of my fellow nationals from Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique in North America, to be exact, Montreal and the province of Quebec.
Mm-hmm. So, as honorary consul, I'm always curious. What is an average day like for you?
An average day is, well, I do have a day job.
Right.
That's first.
Right.
But I do get a lot of telephone calls from nationals asking several different questions. You know, I have to travel immediately for a funeral. My passport has expired. How can I get a travel document? Or how soon can I get a renewed passport? And a myriad of other things. For instance, people call me to ask me, where can I get a COVID vaccine shot?
Right.
It varies. And again, it's not just the people the Grenadians living in Quebec, but also the workers that come up for the farm workers. I assist them also.
Right.
Sometimes it's something, a simple explanation. They have the payslip. Can you explain this to me? I do not understand it. So I would do that also. I would tell them why they have this deduction, why this deduction goes to the NIS, and it will give you perhaps a couple of dollars when you retire later on. And there's a lot of other things. And plus, I do assist people with preparing your passport applications,
right,
and other things, getting a birth certificate, authenticating documents. As a commission of oath, it's not for Grenada, it's for everyone in the province of Quebec. So I may be doing a paralegal document for someone from Switzerland or Poland, or you do Ukraine, and then the next one will be from St. Lucia, St. Vincent and Dominica. And why? Because in the province of Quebec, I am the only recognized diplomatic representative for the OECS countries. And there are only two others. Barbados has an honorary consul, and Jamaica.
Okay.
So I assist people from St. Vincent with their documents also.
That's quite a lot. I'm thinking your time is not yours with people. And I know as Grenadians, we call you all hours of the day and night for services. So we thank you for your service to country.
Thank you so much for that.
We know you've been advocating as well at the start of the year for people, to do the right thing, stay home, and you've been on lockdown quite a bit yourself in Canada. What is the situation like now? Is it open for travel? Can Grenadians in Canada freely travel back and forth now?
Not yet. I will be returning to I've been here now 4 weeks.
Okay.
I traveled very, very quickly for the funeral of my sister. She passed away. Brenda Blaze Johnson. She passed away here in Grenada on May the 5th, quite suddenly. And I had to rush to Grenada, although I had a trip planned with my sisters to be here in August, the middle of August. However, the great man above decided otherwise, and so I had to do this quick trip. So now I only had one vaccine, the Pfizer shot, the first shot, and due for my second shot on July 11th when I get back. But I had to travel, so I am extremely comfortable with doing the 8 days of quarantine at the hotel. And why? I do a radio show every Saturday afternoon in Montreal, and I was telling everyone I am going to the safest country in the world. I commend the government of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique, the ministers of the cabinet that makes the decisions, and the Ministry of Health primarily, and the CMO, your Chief Medical Officer, for keeping my fellow nationals in Grenada and Carriacou and Petite Martinique safe all these months. You have to take an applaud and take a deep bow, every one of you, for doing the right thing. Since April, you haven't had one case reported, and you've had one death. I tell you this because I have seen 2,000 and 3,000 new cases nearly every second day in Canada, from province to province. So please, I know it's tough with the curfew and everything, but we need to take precautions now so we can release ourselves later.
Yes.
Keep the good work on. The one problem I have that I see, not that I have, is that I hope more Grenadians will take the vaccines. Right now in Canada, we have the highest percentage in the world of people with the first vaccine. In the province of Quebec, 91% of persons over the age of 60 took the vaccine, the first vaccine.
Right.
And now we're going into the second phase, and we are nearly at herd immunity. I think we keep on this level, we will be past 80% herd immunity by August.
Wow.
Then we can open, then we can remove the mask, then 50 people, 100 people will be able to, vaccinated people will be able to go to a baseball game, a football game. That's what we need that's what you need in Grenada if you want to have carnival in August. If you want to have carnival in February in Carriacou, you need to increase the numbers of persons vaccinated, and that is going to be a problem. Remember, we're going to come back. A lot of us want to come to this beautiful paradise of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. So you have to protect yourself because we are coming.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's that simple. It is that simple. And it's really commendable with knowing Canada's population that you're almost at herd immunity. That's quite an accomplishment. Question though, I think was it January we saw you were making calls encouraging the Grenadian community in Canada to get vaccinated. In Grenada, you see us being very stubborn over here. A lot of people, I think it was at 18,000 we're at with people with the first shots. So we're nowhere near herd immunity over here. Those calls you made to Grenadians in Canada, did they heed it?
Yes, and part of the Spice Agricultural Day Association group in Montreal has been to have 4 or 5 people reach out to others, and everyone called 5 others, and it was a chain reaction, along with the Grenada Nationals Association of Montreal, which is the oldest association in the province of Quebec of Grenadians. They're over 50. It's 55 years old, the Grenada National Association of Montreal, and they have been working hard to getting the information out to their members and their friends and their families, and even offering rides to get your shot. That's how far we have been trying to protect each other, because it's a long time since Grenadians in Montreal and Quebec, Ontario and other parts of the country had the opportunity to get together. We haven't had a great dinner. We haven't had a nice little party. We haven't had the chance to bring up a Jamo and Taupri like we did in 2018 and 2019. And we had the guys from Carriacou. We were thinking of bringing the string band up to Montreal. All those plans had to be dashed because of the COVID-19. And the only way we can sort of return to a new normal is if we get vaccinated. I know it's an individual decision, but please trust the science. And that's what I've been telling people. They say, well, I don't know about the vaccine. I said, thank God if your mother is still with you, raise her left blouse and look for a huge mark on the left arm. Because she got that vaccine decades ago, you can talk to me today and say, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. But she did the right thing, and that's why you're alive today talking to me about it. So I said, let's trust the science. Look, there's nothing in life that's perfect. And I can promise you that we may not get ill again. It will happen. But I think taking the vaccine has given me some type of protection against getting very ill, ending up in a hospital with a tube down my throat or on a ventilator, and that's what I wish to avoid. I'm sorry, but the sound you're hearing
no.
It's the rain.
Oh, it's the rain. I can't hear it in here, but I saw the setup this morning. Yeah, and I think that is what the health officials have been saying, and we miss it. Some people think if you take it, you become a superhuman. You're going to live forever. It doesn't give you immortality, as one said it, but it gives you a fighting chance. It gives you a fighting chance. God forbid you contract the virus. And it's as simple as that. That is what it is. I see the time is going by very quickly, and we haven't even gotten into the Cultural Day Festival yet. I'm thinking we may need to bring you back another time before you leave us. You were the first president of the Spice Island Cultural Day Festival. Tell us about what you conceptualized at that point. What was your vision for the festival then?
Although we have Grenadians in Montreal dating back 50, 60, 70 years, we, the younger ones, and I'm not that young, but we now have been thinking of taking our exposure of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique in the northern clime a little bit further. And so we formed this other group called the Spice Isle Cultural Day Association of Quebec, primarily to promote everything Grenada in Quebec and the rest of Canada. Now, in 2018, we got permission from the city of Montreal to put on a Spice Day in the park. That was I became president in 2017, and 2018, we had this huge day in the park, and we had 3,000 people come through the park on that day for the few hours.
Wow.
And that year was the first year, and the government of Grenada had us, Senator Nolan Cox was with us, that representing the government and the people of Grenada at that day. And we had a fantastic time. We had Taupri on stage, we had Ajamo, and we had several others, and it was a ball. We had the flags, the colors of everywhere. And that was the government of Montreal and the government of Quebec actually gave us a small donation at that time.
Okay.
Then they asked us, would you do this again next year? And we said, sure, we'll do it again. So we said, we'll do it 2019. We invited our Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Mitchell. He came to the festival in 2019. And the numbers blew up to over 5,000.
Wow.
And I say it's the city of Montreal that came up with that number of 5,500 people. And we had a ball, especially with the Prime Minister there. He spoke to us. He was in white shorts. He looked very calm. He was having fun.
A Saga boy, you know, a Saga boy. We could just see the visuals.
Yes, and he walked in and everybody just relaxed. You know, the Prime Minister's coming, you know, the security and all the thing. We had park security, RSCMP, the police of Montreal. Nice. And he just told everybody, calm down. We're here for
I'm with my people. We're peaceful people. You don't need all the security. Yeah, he's at home. Grenadians, course, yeah.
And of course, Grenadians want to approach him. They told the security, hey, calm down, relax. I'm here with my people.
Yeah.
And we had a ball. And then we took him to Green's Restaurant and our local joints or local hangouts where Grenadians would congregate on a Friday or Saturday. And we had a ball. And he promised to come back. But then 2020 COVID hit. And we could not go to the park anymore, or we shut down. So we had to go virtual. And we still had a ball, and over 80,000 people logged on to the virtual Six Spice Day. We had a lot of tapes from performers from Montreal, Toronto, Grenada. And it was successful. We raised over $5,000, which was donated to purchase PPEs to the hospital and the police and other entities here in Grenada. So we had fun, raised money, made a donation.
Right.
Now we're doing the same. We're doing another virtual this year. It's going to be approximately 4 hours. It will be on July the 10th. To be on Facebook and all social media. Everything Grenada, we're cooking all down and all different dishes. We have some Finnish famous chefs. Mr. Benjamin from BB's Crabback will be there. He'll be on. We have input, which we thank very much the Grenada Tourism Authority, the Ministry of Culture and Sports here in Grenada, and heck, I do not want to miss anyone. Mr. Arnold Hopkins at the Blue Horizon Hotel. He has been with us for years, and we need to thank him so much. And all the other entities in Grenada, the businesses and the chocolate factory and the Juve, and they all come in because they realize what we're trying to accomplish in Montreal.
Right.
And we believe that it is a spark. People are chomping at the bit to travel. We wanted to say, I'm going to Grenada.
Mm-hmm. You know, I liked the concept firstly when I heard it, because it was a great opportunity for Grenadians outside of Grenada to commune. And then I liked especially the fact that it gave Grenadians hair. And maybe even more so because of COVID now, it gives them the opportunity to showcase their produce locally. I see you have a lot of designers on this year, as you mentioned, or food, and it's a great marketing tool for Grenada. We're actually showcasing ourselves even on a grander scale because of COVID, I'm thinking, because generally you would look at who can travel and the few you can probably bring up to Canada. But it being virtual, and I know you have access to Canadian networks, we have locals here with a perfect opportunity to showcase our fashion and some fantastic designers. So
that's what
it's a
we're
win-win.
trying to do.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying. Now, when your local designers get on a scale to that level of North America and Europe, and we have people all over the world going to be watching this, they perhaps could expand their business through this milieu. So we have designers from Ontario. We have people coming in from Ontario just for that day.
Right.
It's a fantastic opportunity to just push Grenada forward once more.
Yeah.
And that's just one of the aspects of what I do in Montreal. I assist the Grenada Tourism Authority in Montreal when they have the show. When they set up a booth, every year they set up a booth in Montreal at the travel show. So I will assist with the French part because we're predominantly French in Quebec. So when Mr. Strode from the Grenada Tourism Authority, he's the senior executive for Grenada Tourist Authority based in Toronto. He would come once or twice to Quebec, to Montreal for the show. And I would spend some time with him at the show. And if someone comes by and they're speaking limited English, then I will jump into the French. and to speak French with them. So we are trying to grab any and everybody that even show a minor interest in coming here and get them to come here. I remember a couple years ago in 2017, I was in Beijing for a couple of weeks, and I convinced 3 couples to come to Grenada, and they came to Grenada the next year with me. And I took them over I rented a boat, we took them to Hog Island for the day, and they had a ball.
Awesome.
And they're still talking about it today.
Awesome. Congrats. Folks, we have to leave it here. Mr. Blaze, it's 6 minutes to 12. I've already overstayed my time. I should have left at 10 to. But we need to have you again before you. How long again you have here in Grenada? Although it doesn't matter. These days we can Zoom anywhere.
You can Zoom anywhere.
We can Zoom anywhere. We need to engage again, because I really want to get into, because I know you have some input into the Canadian farm programs. A lot of Grenadians have been asking about opportunities there and other opportunities in Canada. So I want to ask you about scholarships and educational opportunities as well. And I know you have information for us, so we'll have to engage again. But we have to wrap up today.
Reach out to me anytime.
Yeah. Thanks so much. We appreciate.
You're very welcome. And thanks for having me.
Fantastic Thursday. I know you've been very busy on this trip. Folks, we have to leave it here. The midday edition of news comes up at the top of the hour. Beverly is waiting in the wings for that presentation. I'm Janelle. Have a fantastic Thursday and keep it locked on to Classic Radio. Bye-bye.